This is a huge mistake in our industry. They're saying, let's use video views and we're going to just warm people up and then we're going to retarget them with our conversion campaign. And then we find that those video viewers, they don't convert. One of the things that I think we're realizing with, and you guys have probably, anybody that's managed a good amount of ads has realized that as soon as, when you're using the conversion objective, number one, you're attracting a different type of person. But when you go from using a conversion objective where you're optimizing on leads or webinar registrations compared to purchases, it's a whole different level. And what I think with an audience, if we have this audience, let's say it's 5 mil, okay? There's going to be, in general, if we start optimizing on purchase, we're going to start with a conversion objective. And then we have, let's say we're optimizing on lead, or so let's say we have a campaign optimizing on leads. We have another campaign optimizing on purchases. Sometimes we think that we've talked about this too. Every time we generate a purchase, the algorithm gets smarter, right? And so we're thinking, okay, we have to have a good amount of purchases in order to be able to optimize on purchase. Facebook recommends 50 per week. Other people recommend 4 or 5 or 6 per day. And so that way they can find out, the AI can learn, machine learning, and as you get a conversion, it starts to target a more likely to convert. So let's say that these are your purchase people. Purchase. These are your lead types. These are purchase types. These are your video viewers. These are your engagers. These are your whatever, readers, video, looking lures, clickers. You get the point, right?
Yeah.
So now, sometimes what happens is we think that these are all converters, right? So if we're using the conversion objective here, then it's going to be automatically just targeting all these people here. So we think that if we're using conversion, then it's just going to be targeting all these people here, right? And then as you generate, if we're optimizing on purchase here, then as you generate as you generate a few purchases, it's going to start zeroing in on this section here. But actually, I think how the algorithm works more is that they've already split these up before you have your ad gets 1 impression. So obviously, the more purchases you get, the smarter it gets. But in general, Facebook knows if you use the purchase conversion, they're not looking at just data of your future purchases. They're looking at behavior of that person in the last 10 years, and especially the last 30 days, right? Is that person a typical person that likes to purchase things? So where I'm getting at is that where we can get in big trouble is if and a lot of people are doing this, you guys, I'm telling you, this is a huge mistake in our industry. They're saying, let's use video views, let's boost posts leading up to a launch. Or let's warm up maybe we have an evergreen funnel, let's use video views and we're gonna just warm people up and then we're gonna retarget them with our conversion campaign. And then we find that those video viewers, they don't convert because they're not buyers. They were in here to begin with, right? So what we wanna do is we want to target these people right off the bat if we can. So what happens is if we go back here and we create a funnel like this, where we're generating customers, we're optimizing on purchases all the way, and we're running, say, video ads that whole time. And so now we're generating thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of video views. Let's say we have 100,000 video views, and we're going into the live launch period. Those 100,000 video views of people that were in this audience, right, are going to be 50 times more likely to buy than they were if all we were doing was this. Now we know that we can get really cheap video views, and that's why you want to spend a small percentage of your budget doing this all the time. But way better if you can actually do this. And I'm telling you right now, this compared to this is a huge difference. Huge. And so we see it all the time. This is even if you have a really good follow-up system, if you're optimizing on leads and you have a badass 14-day sequence, and your lead cost is like $4, and then you have another campaign where you're optimizing on purchase, or maybe you have an application funnel and you're putting a purchase amount on the application booking, you're going to look back after 14 days, 30 days, and the lead campaigns are not going to generate much revenue. Maybe 6 months. If you look back 6 months, yes, but that's a much longer game. Our application funnel, we're going to have like 10% of our budget as a lead optimization, because they're cheaper leads for sure, but they're not turning into customers. We're looking back. I mean, they're not. And eventually some of them will. So we don't want to lose these. We want to have a small percentage. But when you're talking with customers, we need to be able to use this as much as we can. But you're going to probably run into trouble with the learning phase with this. And
yeah,
but sometimes I'm telling you, it's better dealing with that than it is going to this. Because like I said, Facebook is, I know actually, they're separating these out ahead of time. Now, of course, as you get more data, they're starting to tap into a bigger part of the audience. It doesn't mean somebody can't go from this to that in terms of how the algorithm works. But in general, these invisible categories that the algorithm is placing on these Facebook and Instagram users, they're doing it based on their purchase history, really. And so does that mean that if you're optimizing on lead that you're never going to get a purchase? No, it doesn't mean that, but it just means for us, 8 to 9 times out of 10, when we're optimizing on add to carts for e-commerce, things don't work out very well. When we're optimizing on, webinar registration, it's tough to get ROI until we can start optimizing on purchase. That's why sometimes getting momentum with a webinar funnel can be a little bit challenging. And so maybe with a webinar funnel, initially you could potentially start with some kind of purchase optimization based on show ups or something like that, but you want to be careful doing that. You don't want to try to hack the algorithm too much where you're just, calling a lead a purchase, somebody that opts in for a webinar, because I think that will backfire in the end if you do that. Does that make sense? So don't just automatically use purchase and say, oh, if somebody registers, name an email for a webinar, for a video series, that's a purchase. Because what will happen is you'll start to get too many of those and they're not buying, and then it'll screw everything up. But if it's somebody that they book an appointment to talk with somebody, I think that's a scenario where you can fudge the system and put a $5, $10 value on it. So these are situationally based, but in general, we have to work backwards. We have to start with the selling system.